What's happening, men? So, just finished a run today. 2 seconds, give me 2 seconds, hold on. Putting my headphones up through my top so I can talk. My shirt's restricting it. So I just finished my run number 3. Any of you that know, I'm not really a great fan of running, but I'm doing it because I'm not a great fan of it, and growing in that area. I haven't run for years really, and I've started about a week ago, and I've got 3 weeks in a run, 3 runs in a week. Here's the truth: today was a gym day, and I slept through my alarm. Naughty me, eh? Definitely not leading by example. And I was listening to something and talking to someone about this, and because I kind of tend to put a picture up of my watch when I'm in the gym, what time I'm in there, and a picture of the gym, and kind of talk about working out and stuff like that. And I say it's very easy to do that shit when you're doing it, but it's not always easy to share when you're not doing it. And today I fell short of that, right? And I shared that on my story, that I fell short of my own kind of standards of what I want to achieve, right? My vision for my life and working out. And I fell short of that today. And I was saying to someone about it, and I said, we don't strive for perfection, we strive for excellence, right? And I kind of observed it. I looked at it. Okay, what did I do today? This is something that I've been playing with. I'm going to get onto the porn addiction at the moment, but this is something I've been playing with recently, is really kind of looking, if going into things with objectives, right? And looking at it objectively if it's not working out. So what is it I'm doing? What is my objective for what I'm doing? What did I do well? What didn't I do well? And I speak to someone about this, and they say, well, it sounds like a lot of overthinking to me. And I'm like, well, there's areas of your life, where you can overthink about things, but there's areas of life where you can look at to improve on. And for me, this is it. So on my second run, when I went for my first run, guys, I run 2.5 miles. Nothing great, right? I stopped 3 times. I had a stitch after 10 minutes, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, fuck, I want to die. I am not enjoying this at all. My second run, I actually went into it with an objective, and my objective was, it took me 23 minutes to run those 2.5 miles, and it's a lot of hills. I'm over here now, it's a lot of hills. And my second time I went, my objective was just not to stop. I didn't want to stop, right? And I'd done it, and I didn't stop. That was my objective today as well, was to not stop and be a little bit quicker. And the second time round, I was like 3 minutes off my time quicker than I was the first time, right? Because I went into it with an objective. So I just wanted to share that, because that could be helpful. Is when you're doing something, you want to change something, have an objective, go into it with an objective. This is something I'm learning. Instead of just doing it for the sake of doing it and not really have an objective about it. What would you like to get from it? What can you learn from it? What can you do better? And that's what I'm playing with the gym and working out. But anyway, this is why I wanted to do this video. Why I wanted to do this video was from a conversation I had with someone around porn addiction, right? Forbes magazine published this. In 2017, Pornhub was visited 28.5 billion times. That's like 1,000 people a second, something like that. It works out 28.5 billion times, right? It's safe to say that, men, majority I would say, women as well, but there's a slight issue there with regards to porn. I think society's having a slight issue there with porn. And I talked to my friend about it, and a lot of guys that I talk to about this, they kind of talk about it, and it's like this badge of honour that they watch porn, and there's nothing wrong with watching porn. And I kind of have a different view on that, right? And I think it's very destructive mentally, especially for guys that get hung up on, they don't last as long as the guys in the porn. I've heard people like that, I don't last long in bed. I say, okay, well, what's long? They say, well, I only last like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Okay. And I wanted to have this conversation, right? And I'm like, okay, like, well, when I watch porn, there's guys in there that last like 30 minutes, 25 minutes, I'm not adequate enough. I haven't got a big enough dick, and I'm like, what are you basing that on? I'm basing it on the guys on when I'm watching porn and stuff like this, right? And I shared my experience with it. It's like, I never really was into porn. It's never really been my thing, but I've dabbled in it. And there was a period of time when things weren't particularly great between me and my partner. And I got into the habit of watching it quite regularly and masturbating, right? I've never been one to masturbate over that, but more so kind of like people, people that I can have sex with. So in my head, I'm kind of cheating, right? And I just found it so destructive to my relationship, right? I found it so destructive to my relationship. Why? Because in my head, I'm having a fantasy about somebody else, right? And that disconnect I had with my wife over that period of time, and now I'm talking about over a period of about a month this was, and it was a while ago back now, and I had never really been into porn, never really been my thing, but I would kind of dabble now and again, and then I just become a habit of watching it on a regular basis, right? And I caught myself, and I'm like, what am I actually getting from this? Is like, what I was feeling is these feelings of boredom or frustration or anger, or I would kind of not have sex for a little while, and I'd get all these kind of uncomfortable kind of feelings in myself that, I felt frustrated, or this weird kind of energy inside myself, and it was like, my wife was there, and I just wasn't paying attention to her, right? So this is where I see that it's very destructive, guys, and I see this in relationships, and this is what I was saying, like, if you're single, and you're doing it, and you're in a relationship and you're doing it at the expense of not expanding yourself and stretching yourself to go out and connect and have relationships and build relationships with people, then it's a problem, right? This is how I see it. It's a problem. Now, it's very easy for me to get my phone up, get a bit of porn on there, watch porn, right, and have a wank, than it is to kind of woo my wife. And this is one of the things that I found to be a problem, and this is a problem that I see with a lot of guys nowadays, is their relationships ain't particularly going well, or they're not in a relationship, and instead of kind of stretching themselves or getting themselves in a place of, like they say, well, I'm not very confident with women, right? So I asked them, well, what's that based on? Well, I had a conversation years ago and it didn't quite go well, or I was rejected from a woman. Okay, so you're basing all your experience from now on a past experience, right? So you're going into a past experience to try and create a positive future. That's never a good idea, right? Never a good idea to go back into your past, look at all this negative shit, bring that story into this current future, and then try and move forward with it, right? Now, your mind will always probably go back to that negative past, but also understand that that's okay, right? And you can feel that. You're allowed to let yourself feel that, what you're feeling around this area, this feeling of lack of confidence or not good enough. But this is what I'd always recommend to people, is go and put yourself in that situation where it's going to help you grow. So if you've got a lack of confidence around talking to women, right, and it's easy for you to sit indoors and masturbate, right, and not go out there and create these connections or watch porn and masturbate, I would say to yourself is to look at the misunderstanding, what that is, that you're holding about that situation, and also go out there and actually take action and expand yourself, right? Go and put yourself in those uncomfortable situations to a degree where you go and have a conversation with a woman. And even if that's just saying hello to someone, right? If you're in a relationship and you're watching too much porn and masturbating and you're not having regular sex and connecting with your wife, I would say get into the habit of having those uncomfortable conversations with your wife. Get into that habit of expanding your relationship with your wife. Most people in relationships go and masturbate because they're like, one person in particular that I was talking to, and they're like, I have sex twice a month, I'm lucky. I'm like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing to work on this? Nothing. Do you buy your wife flowers? No. Do you book in date nights? No. Do you cook for dinner with your wife? Do you do anything like that? And I was like, no, I don't do any of that shit. I just, when she's horny, I'm just ready to have that. Or I come home from work and just try it on, and she says no, that's it. And I'm like, dude, like, your fucking wife's at home with the kids all day, man. It's like, at home with the kids all day, parent tearing her hair out. And this was kind of one of the things that I struggled with. Is my wife's at home feeling exhausted because she's running about after 2 kids at the time, and I would come home and just expect to have sex, or wouldn't actually take any time to build that relationship, find out how she was, buy her flowers, cook her dinner, woo her, date her, ask her how her day was, give her a massage, rub her back, anything like that, right, guys? So this is one of the reasons why, there's many reasons why, but one of the things that I see with porn addiction is, and it's getting 28.5 billion people in 2017 watching porn. And people wonder why their relationships are falling apart, right? People wonder why their relationships fall apart, or they're wondering why they're struggling to form relationships with the opposite sex, right? Or with the same sex, whatever your bag is, right? People are wondering why they're struggling because they're, instead of going out and growing in this, instead of going out and taking action, instead of going out and actually creating a connection with someone, instead of going out and, building a deeper, meaningful relationship, allowing complacency to set in your life, right? That it's just easier just to watch a porn, have a wank, and then maybe play video games or do something else. Or even like it's easier just to go and, watch porn, or maybe even go and get a hooker, whatever that thing is, right? But we're kind of specifically talking about porn here, guys. Now, in my experience, I never had a really bad problem with it, but there was a period of time when I was watching it because I fell into complacency around my relationship, right? And this complacency was that I wasn't wooing my wife, I wasn't doing any of this stuff, right, which I'm sharing now, and which I see as a massive problem. Am I perfect in my relationship? Fuck no. But I'm on this journey, and I'm taking steps and actions towards this. And it's just a concern that I see in so many guys, and guys just talk about it like it's quite a normal thing. I'm going to share this. I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, and I'm not going to give no names, but I was just with someone, and within the first 15, 20 minutes, they're talking to me about sex, and they're talking to me about porn, and how much porn, and what porn channels, and this stuff, and that stuff, and this stuff they're doing to women. And I'm like, dude, man, we get our sexual education from porn on the internet, and then we think that that's what women want. It's just that wham, bam, thank you, man. And then we start judging ourselves based on porn stars, right? That are specifically, it's like judging yourself going through life, I'm not as good as Brad Pitt because I can't act like Brad Pitt, right? we're judging ourselves on these guys that have got the tools and equipment to be in these programs, right? To do this stuff, There was a funny situation that happened to me and my friends once. There used to be this nightclub here called The Playground in Pitsea. And we were in there once dancing, and this guy approached me and three of my mates. I always remember this. And he said, look, guys, he gave me these cards, and he said, you guys would be great to get to, I do porn and things like that. You guys, I don't know if he was thinking about doing porn with us himself, but he said, he gave us his cards, and he said, you guys would be great to do porn and that. And I was joking. I was pissed out my head, and I said, look, man, I said, thanks for the offer. I said, but I ain't got the tools and equipment to do that, man. I said, it's like a chippy turning up on site without a saw and a hammer. I said, I ain't got the equipment to do that, mate. I said, maybe my friends have, but I haven't. But coming back to this with the porn addiction, guys, like, if you're finding you're watching too much porn and you've got a partner, look at what you're doing in your relationship. If you're not having the sex, maybe there's an uncomfortable conversation. I know that I've had that uncomfortable conversation with my wife about things like this before, right? A period of time in our relationship, right? And it was an uncomfortable conversation, and we had that. Right, and it was around about a time with the porn, when I was watching the porn, and I kind of realised, and I was like, this is not how I choose to live my life. So if you're in a relationship and this is happening, guys, have a look at what are you doing. Are you spending too much time at work and then just coming home and getting into bed and thinking, right, that's it, I'm just going to fuck my wife, while your wife's been indoors cleaning, cooking, you've not actually created any connection, you've not wooed her, you've not done anything? I'd have you consider that. Number two, guys, and in my experience, I've done that, and in my experience as well, is if you're not in a relationship, and you're kind of got some story you've created about going out there and getting in a relationship, the chances are the complacency set in, and you've created this habit of, it's just easier for me just to stay indoors, watch porn, knock one out, than it is to actually go out there and actually make some effort to create a relationship with someone. So guys, I just wanted to share that. I read an article, I read something, it was saying 28.5 billion people in 2017 watch porn. That's quite a fucking lot. And I want to share my experience and something that I've seen from conversations that I've had with guys that are struggling with a similar sort of thing. So I'm going to leave it there, guys, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.